Rifka Imenu calls out to us, Im ken, if this loss, this pain, this illness, if this is to be my life, lama ze anochi, then why do I exist? As if responding to her, the Piazetzner Rebbe wrote, this is our situation. We are constantly distraught. What is the point of our existence? We have found no cure for our constant heartbreak. All we can do then is to connect to each other. These words touch at the deepest points of pain and alienation that we all feel in this world. Why do we suffer? And when we're suffering, how do we keep on living? We each carry these questions with us. The key, though, is to not carry them alone. We must connect with others. We must share our struggles with them in order to get through life. Before this message of connection was taught by the Piazetzner, it was lived by Rifka Imenu. From her, we learn that in our distress, we can and should reach out and connect with others. We encounter Rivka's pain in Parshat Toldot after the death of Sarah and Avraham. Their son Yitzchak marries Rivka, and Rivka and Yitzchak long for a child. They're together for a while, nothing happens. Yitzchak asks God for some divine intervention, and they conceive. But they think everything is going to plan. But it doesn't happen the way that they imagined, and especially not the way that Rivka imagined. Rivka's pregnancy is painful and difficult. Of it, the Torah says, "Vayitrotzetzu habanim bekirba." The children struggled within her. Vatomer im ken lama ze anochi. And she said, if this is so, if this pain is so, then why do I exist? Vatelech lidrosh et Hashem. And she went to go ask God. Now, God replies to her in a riddle of sorts, but only responds to her situation of physical pain, not to the existential question that she posed. God says that this pain is due to two diametrically opposed forces that are competing and fighting within her. Her cry and question lingers, though, with us. God hasn't given us any reason for why she's deserving of this suffering, or any advice on how to manage or relieve it. God doesn't seem to answer Rivka's feelings of hopelessness, or her questioning her very existence within this world. In fact, it seems as if Rivka's question of Im ken lama za anochi, if this is so, why do I exist, has not even been necessary for God's response. Since God's answer is only focused on explaining Rivka's physical suffering, the Torah could have just as well have stated, Vayitzritzu habanim bekirba v'telech lidrosh et Hashem. The children are struggling within her, and she goes to question God about it. Why did we need to have this moment of pain recorded in the Torah if God doesn't even relate back to it? The whole thing seems superfluous. Why record and preserve her cry in our Torah if it's completely unnecessary for understanding God's response? Why does the Torah need us too to witness Rifka Imenu's suffering? Why must we listen to her doubt her own existence? Now, the Midrash in Bereshit Rabbah builds a case for why Rivka's question needed to be included within our Torah. Bereshit Rabbah teaches that Rivka could feel the babies within her and that they were rushing back and forth, they were fighting with each other, and that it felt painful and dangerous, and that she was scared. Now, within the Midrash, Rivka then makes a choice. She makes a choice to reach out to others, specifically to other women. She opens up to them about how she is struggling, not just these babies that are within her. And she opens up to them about this pain instead of pretending that everything is going okay. The Midrash says that Rivka went around to all of the women that she knew, that she went from door to door to door. And to each of them, she described how she was hurting, how the children kicked and pulled at her, and how scared she was, and that she even wished that she wasn't pregnant, and that she even wished that she didn't exist at all. No woman judged her for what she said. No woman blamed her for her pain. No one attempted to explain why she suffered. No one tried to give it any meaning. No woman said, well, at least you're pregnant. Or, well, at least your spouse loves you. In fact, the Midrash records no responses at all. No attempts to fix the situation, only their presence. Only these other women being with Rivka. They're just with her, door after door, house after house, hearing her pain cry, Im ken lama za anochi? If this is so, why do I exist? This expanded retelling by the Midrash builds up the idea that Rivka's cry needed to be shared, it needed to be said, it needed to be heard. Just as it's shared with us as readers of Torah, so too Rivka shared it and shared it again with her community of women. She demands that her cry is heard by both them and by us. But the Torah is recording her question so we can follow in this example. On some level, we might have thought that talking openly about our struggles might lower us in the eyes of others. We might have thought that we need to hide away our pain and our doubts, especially if we're in leadership, especially if we're people of faith. The Midrash and the Torah are pushing back against these thoughts. They're reminding us that struggles come in all forms, to all kinds of people, and that pain shouldn't isolate us from each other. Instead, we need to connect to each other. We should use these experiences to bring us together. Rivka's example in the Midrash also teaches us that we can choose who we are vulnerable around. We can bring our struggles first to our chosen community. Rivka follows this example as it is taught in a principle from Tractate Chulin, though she definitely didn't have this in front of her. In Tractate Chulin in the Talmud, it says, Mi she'era bo davar sarich lehodia larabim. A person who is dealing with something, anything, the smallest thing, anything difficult at all, needs to announce it to others. This principle wants us to know that when we are in pain, we are not alone, that we exist within a community, and that the community will turn towards us when we cry. They will hear us. Building on a shared shoresh, then we can understand this phrase, sarich lehodia larabim. We need to tell the rabim, the plural. We can look at the word rabim, which is translated here as others, the ones who will hear our pain, and we can link it, rabim, we can link it to the word rov, majority, since they share the same shoresh. And we can consider the word rov to be those who share the majority of our life experiences with us, those who have similar struggles and worries and hopes. The Rabbim are not actually every single person in our world. The Rabbim are specific people They are chosen families, our chosen communities. Rivka reached out not to Yitzchak or to God at first. She reached out to other women. She reached out to the community that shares her lived experience. Alienation comes from feeling like we are the only ones to struggle. And when we turn instead to those who get us, then we can feel less alone. Part of the picture of being human is to have setbacks and pain, and even to doubt everything. If we were to hold these thoughts inside, only inside of ourselves, we would feel so alone. We would feel as if we were the only one who worries these kinds of worries. When we share our struggles, we break through the shame and we break through those feelings of alienation. Rivka's question, Im ken lama ze anochi, is not superfluous within the text. It is in the Torah to teach us that it's okay to speak our pain out loud and to join together again and again and again, as many times as it takes for us to feel heard. As the Pia Zetzner said, we have found no cure for our heartbreak. All we can do then is to connect with each other. Kaddish D'Rabbanan. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah. Be'alma di varach yerutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon u'v'yomechon b'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael ba'agala u'bizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach la'olam omei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shmei dekucha brichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tush b'chata v'nechemata da'miran be'alma v'imru amen. Al Yisrael ve'al Rabbanan ve'al Talmidehon ve'al kol Talmidehon ve'al kol man de'oskin be'oraita di be'atra hadein ve'di bechol atar v'atar Yehei lehon ulechon shlama rabba china v'chizda v'rachame v'chaye ariche umzone reviche ufor kana min kodam avuhon divishmaya v'imro amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imro amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav hu ya'aseh barachamav shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imro amen.